Before the homeless man died, he replaced the dog's rope with a sturdier iron chain, binding the other end to himself. It wasn't until 2 days later that the dog realized its owner intended for it to be buried alongside him. After the initial grief passed, the dog knew it couldn't keep waiting like this. But the homeless man's surroundings were filled with nothing but garbage. Though the clear river water was right before its eyes, the dog simply couldn't reach it. It didn't want to die here, because it still had an unfinished promise with its first owner. Yet despite numerous attempts, the dog's efforts proved futile. Having gone many days without water, it soon collapsed on the ground, barely clinging to life. In its final moments of consciousness, the dog recalled its childhood. The day its mother was taken away by animal control officers. It never saw her again. As a young pup, it was raised by a mother cat. As its body grew larger and larger, the place could no longer accommodate it, and the cat mother's milk could no longer sustain its growth. One day, a kind-hearted young couple arrived. Watching them leave after feeding it, the dog hesitated for a moment before decisively chasing after them. Its enthusiastic and lively nature caught the man's attention. Lucas, who already loved animals, brought it home and named it Bella. Bella was quite mischievous, enjoying tearing and chewing everything in the house. Lucas would only respond with a helpless smile. Bella was fortunate to have such an emotionally stable owner, and under his care, it gradually grew up. Lucas's mother often took Bella to her workplace, a nursing home for retired veterans. It was filled with former soldiers who spoke of the psychological trauma they'd suffered on the battlefield. Bella seemed to sense their sorrow, and whenever this happened, she would burrow into the veterans' embrace to comfort them, quietly listening to their stories. Just when it seemed this happy life would continue indefinitely, one evening animal control officers came to their door. Citing the city's ban on pit bulls, they issued the family a fine and warned them that if Bella appeared on the streets, she would be lawfully impounded. So as a precaution, Lucas began training Bella, playing a game called Go Home. Whenever Lucas said the words "Go Home" to Bella, she had to run toward home no matter where she was. At first everything went smoothly. Bella could always find her way home with her keen sense of smell. Until one day, Bella suddenly spotted a squirrel outside the window taunting her. Angry, Bella rushed out the window and chased straight after the squirrel. By the time Lucas found her, Bella had also caught the attention of animal control officers. Seeing this, Lucas quickly untied her leash and gave Bella the command to go home. But this time, Bella stood in front of Lucas, refusing to move. She thought the men were going to hurt her owner, so she wouldn't leave. Eventually, Bella was taken to the shelter by animal control officers. Watching her owner's figure gradually blur into the distance, Bella's mood was very low. Fortunately, this was Bella's first offense. The next day, Lucas paid bail and got Bella released. But before leaving, the staff warned them that if Bella was caught again, she would be euthanized. With no choice, they had to send Bella away that very night, planning to board her temporarily at an uncle's house 400 kilometers away. Once everything was settled, they would bring Bella back. Watching her owner's figure recede into the distance once more. This time Bella realized she was being separated from her owner. Bella let out a cry of anguish. At the uncle's place, he treated Bella well, but Bella remained depressed all day, because she missed Lucas terribly. Finally one day, Bella decided to go find her owner. She watched the fence, waiting for her chance. When the uncle wasn't paying attention, Bella quickly climbed up a slide, and successfully jumped out of the yard. She crossed endless fields and small towns, beginning this 400-kilometer journey home. But what Bella never imagined was that at that very moment, Lucas had already taken care of everything, and was driving to pick her up. Fate played a cruel trick. They passed each other at a turn in the road. That day, she suddenly heard a gunshot on the road. Drawing closer, she discovered it was a cougar, but it was no longer breathing. Then two hunters ran over, and Bella quickly hid. The cougar was their trophy. Suddenly a wail came from beside Bella. A cougar cub was looking at her pitifully. Bella realized this must be the child of the dead cougar. Though Bella wanted to help, she had more important things to do, so reluctantly she had to turn and leave. She prayed the cougar cub would grow up safely, but the little cougar latched onto Bella. No matter where Bella went, it followed closely behind. Looking at the cougar cub's pitiful eyes, Bella recalled the moment her mother was taken away. Bella had hidden in a den, just just as helpless as this cub. Ultimately, Bella decided to raise this cougar, but feeding a growing cougar wasn't easy. Not being skilled at hunting in the wild, Bella turned her attention to humans. She would sneak away with people's food when they weren't looking. And so, the cougar gradually grew up and developed survival skills. It would share its catches with Bella, and when sleeping, it went from needing to be held to being the one depended upon. Before they knew it, they had become family, but the wilderness held dangers they couldn't overcome. One day, while hunting, Bella suddenly noticed several wolves in the forest staring at them. Bella knew they were no match yet, so they quickly fled, but they were eventually cornered on a dead tree. To protect her adopted daughter, Bella bravely stood beneath the tree, facing off against the hungry wolves. As the wolves drew closer and closer, at the critical moment, a group of passing humans arrived and drove the wolves away. The cougar, having never interacted with humans before, fled in fear, but Bella didn't leave. She wanted to ask the humans for food to feed her adopted daughter. That night, Bella successfully obtained food, and they ate their fill. Early the next morning, snowflakes began to fall from the sky. They huddled together for warmth. At that moment, Bella suddenly heard barking. Excited to see her own kind after so long, Bella rushed over. The two dogs gazed at each other as if meeting old friends they hadn't seen in ages, both running toward each other. Unexpectedly, this triggered an avalanche behind them. Dutch's owner ended up buried under the snow. Realizing they'd caused trouble, the two dogs desperately dug at the snow. Fortunately, passing skiers saw this scene and successfully rescued the man, calling for emergency responders. But the rescue team was only responsible for saving people, with no obligation to care for the dogs. The two men had no choice but to bring the dogs home first. As Bella was about to leave, she kept looking back. She wanted to stay and continue caring for her adopted daughter. But the humans didn't understand what the dog meant, and eventually forced Bella to come back with them. Fortunately, both men were very kind. Here Bella no longer had to worry about food, and even had a bed specially for dogs. Just as she was getting used to life there, Jack received a phone call. It turned out the man who'd been in the avalanche had been discharged from the hospital. Though they'd grown attached to the dogs over these days, the two men still returned them. They arrived at the man's home. Dutch excitedly approached his owner upon seeing him, but the man coldly pushed him away. The man felt the dog was to blame for his leg injury, and no longer wanted to keep him. No matter how Jack explained, the man didn't want to keep the dog anymore. Dutch was still looking at his owner on the bed with concern, not realizing he'd been abandoned until the man led him away. However, this allowed the two men to adopt the dog as they'd wished. They then untied the leashes, letting both dogs choose whether to stay or go. Bella knew that Dutch had found his own Lucas, but she hadn't yet. So despite the two men's reluctant pleas for her to stay, Bella steeled her heart and chose to leave.
Dutch had found his Lucas. Now, I needed to find mine.